A rusty blade slashes your ankle from the tall grass. Before you can react, you are dragged into the dark woods, while a pack of high-pitched laughs surround you. You don't know it yet, but you just became the victim of the most sadistic predators in Dragon's Dogma. Most players treat goblins as an annoying speed bump on the way to the real objective. We farm them for easy experience and move on. But if we examine the game's actual lore, these creatures aren't just mindless starter enemies. They are highly coordinated ambush predators that turn the beautiful roads of Vermund into an absolute bloodbath. Imagine you are an ordinary merchant traveling the dirt road from Melve to Vernworth. The sun is shining, your cart is loaded with goods, and the morning air is crisp. Then you hear it. A rustle in the tall grass, a high-pitched rasping laugh. You don't see a giant dragon, you see 5 pairs of glowing yellow eyes. In most RPGs, goblins are a minor nuisance, walking XP piñatas designed for low-level players to farm. But in the world of Dragon's Dogma, you aren't the player, you are the prey. These creatures aren't mindless beasts like we're led to believe. They possess a cruel, calculating intelligence, operating out of fortified camps and coordinated hunting parties. When your pawns shout, they hunt in packs arisen. It isn't just a combat warning, it is an announcement of the orchestrated execution. Goblins do not fight fair. They set up brutal choke points along major trade routes, waiting patiently for the weak, the injured, or the alone. Look closely at a weapon a goblin swings at your head. They didn't forge that steel. They scavenged it from the warm corpse of the last traveler who thought the roads were safe. Every notched blade, every rusted shield they carry is a silent trophy of a human life ended in the dark. For the Arisen, a seasoned warrior backed by 3 immortal companions, a goblin ambush is a minor inconvenience. But for the average citizen of Vermund, stepping outside the city gates is an act of absolute desperation. The true horror of the goblin isn't their size. They turn the breathtaking wilderness into an active, merciless slaughterhouse. If the goblins own the roads of Vermund, the skies belong to something far more sinister. Imagine you somehow survived that brutal ambush. Your cart is splintered on the dirt road, but you manage to scramble up the rocky incline towards the mountains. You are bleeding, your stamina is completely depleted. You just need a moment to breathe. Then, the mountain wind is broken by a beautiful, haunting melody. It sounds exactly like a woman singing. In a standard fantasy game, this is just the atmospheric background music. But in Dragon's Dogma, this is an active, predatory mechanic. You look up, searching for the source of the voice, but the hypnotic lullaby is already shutting down your nervous system. You aren't just being hunted, your own brain is being weaponized against you, forcing your eyes heavy while you stare helplessly at the sky. The true dread of a Harpy encounter lies in the execution. A goblin wants to bludgeon you to death. A Harpy just wants to let go. As your vision fades, you feel razor-sharp talons dig through your armor. They pull you hundreds of feet into the freezing air. They lack the physical strength to crush heavy steel, so they let gravity do the work. But the game's lore hints at a much darker fate. We know these creatures build nests high on inaccessible cliffs. The game leaves the fate of victims carried back to those nests entirely to the imagination. As you plummet back to the earth, you realize that dying from the fall is the merciful outcome. If the skies belong to the Harpies, the darkest corner of this world belong to a threat that is almost too unsettling to talk about. Your lantern is flickering, the walls are closing in, and the air is thick with the scent of stagnant water. You aren't alone. You have your main pawn, you have a towering, heavily armored pawn to hold the lines, and you have a mage for support. You feel safe. You have the steel, you have the magic, and you have the strength of numbers. You hear it before you see it. Wet, labored breathing echoing off the claustrophobic stone. You draw your swords and your eyes scan the pitch-black tunnel, and then one of your pawns screams a line of dialogue that stops your heart cold.
Bear in mind that the brute will seek out women with unwavering persistence.
In any other RPG, a boss monster is programmed to chase the highest threat. It wants the tank. It wants the guy swinging the flaming sword. But the ogre in Dragon's Dogma ignores the math. It stares right past your shield. It ignores the heavy armor. It is driven by a singular, predatory obsession. It charges, but it isn't looking for a fight. It's looking for a prey. It leaps directly over the front line, snatches one of the female pawns with its massive hands, and for a second the fight stops. The monster turns its back on you, and then it runs. The ogre doesn't fight, it abducts. It sprints into the lightless, uncharted depths of the cave where you cannot easily follow, listening to the muffled screams of your companion fading deeper into the shadows. The game never explicitly writes out what happens to those who are dragged into the dark and never rescued. It doesn't have to. The reality of an apex predator that explicitly isolates its prey, targeting the vulnerable to drag them into the void, is profoundly sickening. It turns a standard dungeon crawler into a frantic, high-stakes rescue mission. It proves that the monsters in Vermund aren't just hungry. They are unspeakably, calculatedly cruel. When you finally stagger out, Vermund looks completely different. It's no longer a beautiful fantasy playground. It is a living, predatory ecosystem. And it makes you realize exactly why finding a campfire in this game feels so profoundly safe. I have spent a lot of time on this channel lately dissecting the heavy real-world mechanics of our daily lives. But sometimes you just need to step out of the dark, sit around the fire with a few good friends and geek out over the masterclass in world building. Pivoting into these passion-driven lore dives feels exactly like finding one of those campsites. It's always been a passion of mine to talk about the atmosphere of the game rather than just linking the game mechanics to life metaphors. If you enjoyed this descent into the dark, there is plenty more to uncover. Keep your lanterns fueled, stay off the main roads. I'll see you by the fire in the next one.